Okay, so in our last video we just learnt some basic stuff about how to open up a template, a bit of fill and stroke. We played around with the smiley face, so now we're going to open up a new document called Vector Basics, and this is just going to teach us some basic skills that we'll use again for the next 4 weeks. So again, you've got yours big document there. You can go down to the bottom left and choose 100%. You can also press Ctrl 0 and that will get you to fit nicely there. That's the easiest way to get your document to fit the screen. So that's Ctrl 0. Now we can also zoom in, so into where we want to work. So we're going to be working on the line stroke. If you want to zoom out, to change that magnifying glass there, you can press Alt and that will turn it to zoom out. You take your finger off, Alt, and it will zoom back in. Now to begin that zoom, I forgot to mention that you just press Z on your keyboard and that will turn it to a magnifying tool. Now we've got our sheet, so I want you to zoom in on our square vector. So again, you can just press Z on your keyboard and click a few times and you'll have a better view. You can then, to go to your selection tool, press the letter V. This just saves going across every time. It's still a suitable way of using it, but if you can learn, it will just speed up your process. Now with your mouse, we're going to put it over the box. Now can you see it goes pink as I put it over? We choose that. You can see different anchor points have now been highlighted around our square. Now we can use these to change the shape of our box. We can come in like this and make it any shape you like. Now to get back to your original shape, you just press Ctrl Z until you go back to our original square. Now going back to our previous lesson, you can see that this also has the fill and it's got the stroke. So you can see it's got the grey fill with a black borderline stroke. So again, you can play around with that on this, but for this process we're just going to learn how we're changing these objects. So we've played around with this, made it into different shapes. Now if you grab your cursor and slowly wrap it around one corner, we can change the angle and the rotation of our square. Now this is handy when we begin to make different layered objects and we want to have different things on different angles. So again, I'm going to go Ctrl Z and get it back to our original square. Now we've got it on our selection tool, the shortcut being V. So you've pressed V on our document and we can move it around like we have been. But what we want to do now is using the scale tool. So you can either press it on your control panel or press S. You can see using the box we can move it into all different shapes without having to play around with all 4 sides. So it's just a really quick way of getting a shape you want. I'm going to leave it here as just a big square. Now with your tool over here, the scale tool, you can press S on your keyboard to get that. Now if we press Shift, we can keep that square and make it any size we like, but at the same time keeping it in scale. So this gives you a precise way to make a square, and if you need to make it larger, you can make it larger quicker. Okay, so we've got our square at that angle there. I want you to select it with your tool, just making sure you've got the selection tool, or V, press V. You've clicked it, it's got those white boxes around the outside. I'm going to press Ctrl C and then we're going to go Ctrl V. Now that will give us a second box. we're going to go over there and put it over that outlined box. Now this stage you can either rotate it using what we've just learnt before, which is our little arrow above that white box there, or you can press R on your keyboard and that will turn it into the rotation tool. And then I just want you to rotate it till it's a perfect square. Now this is a bit fiddly, this part. And now we've got our square. So what we want to do now is press S on our keyboard, or go over there and press our scale tool. And we're going to grab a side and we're going to fit it in that box. And now from here we can make it fit perfectly in our box. Go back and go to your selection tool and you can bring it down to fit in our box. So there you go, we've just learnt a little bit how to move around our shapes, and now we're going to learn in this box how we can just move one corner of a line. Now we've got our tool selected as selection tool, so we've pressed V, that's the shortcut for the selection tool again, guys. So then if you press A, we're going to be going to our direct selection tool. So this is where you can choose different anchor points and play around with the square. You can also do this with your mouse, or you can do it with your arrow buttons on your keyboard. But that just gives you an idea of how you can change the shape. You can press Shift and choose 2 and play around with that. Now again, if you want to press deselect 2, just press Shift, lose that one. So I'll do that again, lose that one, and then you're back onto one point. Now if we can scroll up to our line up above again, so if we were back onto the selection tool, which is V for the shortcut, the only thing you can really do with this line is move it up and down like so. But if you change it to your direct selection tool, pressing A, you can grab different ends of it, extend it out, change different angles. So it's just a way of being a bit more precise with different areas of the program. Now if we scroll down to our circle at the bottom of our page, now again we've got our we've got our selection tool and our direct selection tool. So if we remember, the selection tool is V on the keyboard and our direct selection tool is A. When it's in the selection tool, it's going to be dark. When it's in the direct selection tool, it's going to be white. Now if we all press A on our keyboards and we highlight our entire circle, we'll see the anchor points light up. Now if we want to change the shape and mold the shape of this circle, we're going to press on the one anchor point connected to our circle. We can then come over to the handle of this and really begin to rotate these circles. You can leave it like that, and as you can see, the outline of the original circle does stay there. Now we can come over to this anchor point, grab that one and turn it into a bit of a jelly bean here. We've got that anchor point that we can bring out, and then we can turn that there. So it kind of looks a bit like a tooth. You guys can play around with it like you want. So it's really important just to remember, guys, when we're going to be playing around with Illustrator, that the direct selection tool, which is A on our keyboard, is going to be purely going to be dealing with anchor points. So that's going to be to move individual lines, whereas your select tool, which is V on your